Hi, and welcome to part 2 of my Tyranid Tactics series. Today I'm going to be talking about the Tyranid Shrike brood. They're only 5 points more than a Tyranid warrior per model, and they can also take 3 to 9 Tyranids per brood, just like Tyranid warriors. And just like Tyranid warriors, they also have the Devourers, the Reinforced Chitin, the Scything Talons, Synapse Creature, and Shadow in the Warp. However, for that extra 5 points, you get Wings, which makes them jump infantry, so you can either deep strike or just simply move 12 inches per round. Also, like warriors, they can take one of them have upgrade of a barbed strangler or a venom cannon. And then here's where the big difference is. With your shrikes, you have to decide: do you want them to be melee shrikes or do you want them to be ranged attack shrikes? Because of their speed, I would say make them melee shrikes, because you have plenty of other ranged options that you can take to cover your ranged abilities that can move fast enough to still provide ranged fire support for your shrikes. But this is why you have to decide whether you want them to be ranged or melee. The only option that you can take that is a melee upgrade and still have ranged weaponry, other than the one model that can take the Barbed Strangler or the Venom Cannon, is you can upgrade your one pair of Scything Talons to Rending Claws, and then you'd have to do it with the entire brood. So you'll get Rending, and then you can take your choice of Spine Fist, Death Spitter, pair of Bone Swords, Lash Whip and Bone Sword, or an additional set of Scything Talons. However, the Spine Fists, the Death Spitters, and the Devourer can only be with either Scything Talons or Rending Claws, and you can't take anything else. Like with the warriors, you can take Lash Whip and Bone Sword and then a ranged weapon, so you get that nice lash ability to where any enemy model that's touching it attacks at initiative 1, and then the Bone Sword, where anytime that you deal a wound, no matter how many wounds that model has left, you force them to make a leadership-based test or die outright, unless of course they have Eternal Warrior. The way I like to field my Shrikes is I like to give them a pair of Lash Whips and Bone Swords. Of course, this means they no longer have any ranged ability unless I take a Venom Cannon or a Barbed Strangler. And then I like to give them a pair of Scything Talons, which they already have, so the only upgrade I give them is the Lash Whip and Bone Sword, which, I mean, adds 15 points to them, making each model a 50-point model. But if you only take 3, or if you only take 6, that's not bad at all. I mean, that's 150 points if you take 3 of them. That's 300 points if you take 6 of them. And then what I always do, if I take 3 of them, I'll have a Winged Hive Tyrant to back them up. Obviously, I can't join the Winged Hive Tyrant to their brood, but what I like to do is I'll have them fly together. That way I can use the Winged Hive Tyrant's psychic abilities to support the Tyranid Shrike brood. And then the Tyranid Shrike brood, I'll have them jump in first and also provide a little bit of a cover save to the Hive Tyrant. And then all 3 or all 4 models they all have Lash Whips and Bone Swords, and so they all reduce the initiative of everything that they touch, and they all get power weapons, and they all get the Bone Swords ability, where they have to pass the leadership test or die outright. And then the Bone Sword is also the only way to give any Tyranids other than monstrous creatures a power weapon attack. So anytime you can take Lash Whips and Bone Swords, I like to take them. If you're taking 6 Shrikes, you can still take the Winged Hive Tyrant if you're playing a higher point game, because 300 points for the Shrikes, then almost 300 points again for the Hive Tyrant. You're already at 600 points. I mean, I guess you could do it in a 1500 point game. A 1000-point game, that would be really hard to pull off, because you'd still need everything else, because with that you don't even have your troop choices yet. And granted, if you take, cheap gaunts, then that won't be a problem, but you lack a lot of other things. So I would recommend 3 with the Hive Tyrant if you are fighting a 1500-point game, and then you can go to 6 with a Hive Tyrant, or 6 on their own if you don't want to use a Hive Tyrant, if you're at over 1500 points. Another two options that they can take is they can also take adrenal glands and toxin sacs, which both are very good to take on them. The toxin sacs with the 4 plus to always hit, you may or may not want to take that. Just point wise, it's another 5 points. If you take both of them, it's now a 60-point model. So now 50 is already kind of high. So unless you just want to take them, if it's a high enough point game, I just say don't bother with them. As far as everything else goes on them, that's pretty much the only way I'd field them is Lash Whips, Bone Swords, Scything Talons, and then have them running with the Hive Tyrant nearby, or some Gargoyles because they provide the synapse for the Gargoyles. And I hope you like the one that I made there. I used Dark Pegasus Wings, and I used a Lash Whip and Bone Sword, or bio weapons from Pulsing Games, and then of course I used the Ravener body. I hope this video helps everybody out with the all-elusive, hardly used Shrike model, and hope you guys enjoyed this one.